I want to talk to you today about feed your faith and starve your doubts. Feed your faith and starve your doubts. You know, one of the big problems that we have in America today is the opioid crisis. Do you realize that because of the drug cartels and because of drug dealers, those that are local, in a lot of places in America, that over 47,000 people have died of opioids in 2016. Now, if we had a crisis like that tomorrow, if 47,000 people died in a bomb that hit Louisiana, if we had a war and that many people were dying, we'd be outraged. But because there's this slow, not seen over in your neighborhood, but not my neighborhood, somehow we can not be outraged about that because it's out of sight. My brother Bruce is one of the funniest guys alive. And charisma, he drips with it. And Bruce is hilarious. You know, you heard me tell about the time my sister was chosen to go on TV because we were like Feed the Children kids, and they gave her a big sack of stuff for all of her brothers and sisters, and she's got 5 brothers and 5 sisters, right? And she forgot me, but she got Bruce a dress. And I'm over there crying, and Bruce goes in the other room, puts on the dress, and he comes sashaying in, right? This guy's hilarious. And he says, "Don't cry, Scotty. I'll let you wear my dress." Man, he fell head over heels for this young lady named Christine, blonde, blue eyes. I mean, she just had his number. And they got married early, way too early. And what we didn't know was that Christine had a drug problem. I mean, if you met her, she was vivacious, she was joyful. I mean, you know, but she started kind of secretly doing drugs, and their first child, Levi, was born blind, handicapped. Levi's in his 40s now. My brother has taken care of him his whole life. So Christine, she started sneaking away, and she started disappearing like for a day or so. She'd go on a binge. And that day turned into 3 days. That 3 days turned into a month. That month turned into a time that she was gone 3, 4, 6 months. Then finally she was gone for a year. She died in a crack house. During this whole time, my brother started drinking, and he had a problem with alcohol. And the kids were with the grandparents, and my brother started getting straightened out. And his youngest son, Zach, rode his bicycle over to my mother's house where my brother was staying at that time. And he said, "Hey, Zach, how you doing?" He said, "Dad, I'm doing great." He said, "But Mom died. And I just came from her funeral." That was tough. That was really difficult. And to watch him go through that and watch just this kid that just was so winsome and so handsome and just, he was just all that. And to watch opioids and drugs and alcohol just come in and just absolutely decimate that family was difficult. I was in Bible school at the time, and I would drive from Springfield, Missouri back to Detroit. And I remember talking and with our family and saying, you know, maybe I should take these boys. They ended up with the grandmother, which was good. That's what dealers do. That's what they traffic in. But I want you to get this shift right here. When you shift from society at large to the local church, one of our biggest problems that we have in the church is not dealers of dope, but dealers of doubt. The reason doubt is so dangerous is because it really limits your potential in Christ. It is a thing that will rob you and take away of your potential. Bruce was really talented young man, but never reached his potential. Never was released into his giftedness. And what can happen through pushers of dope and dealers of that can happen in the church with pushers of doubt. And sometimes we have no idea that the thing that we're pushing on people is decimating them. You see, you say, how could doubt limit God? Jesus himself was limited to what he could do in his hometown. It says he could only heal a few sick folks, quote, because of their unbelief. If Jesus Christ himself was limited in that moment because of their unbelief, you get the point. I want to tell you about elephants, flies, and sharks. Circus elephants, when they're babies, they take about a 4-foot stake and they drive it in the ground and they tie that animal there. And they condition that animal over all of its lifetime that it can't get away from that stake. And so they can take a full-grown elephant, and unless you get it enraged, it will stay right there. It will not move. It could pull that stake out at any time, but it's been conditioned to believe that it can't get away from that. And this is the thing that holds them. And if we're not careful, we allow others and we allow things that we've done to ourselves, graves we've dug, ditches we've been in. We allow those things then to hold us in a place that we can never get free from. And what happens? We forfeit our potential. Flies, they took a group of fruit flies things and they put them in a jar and they put glass over the top of the jar, and they would fly up and hit that and hit that and hit that and hit that, and they left them there long enough that pretty soon they could take the glass away and they would fly up and fly right back down. Do you know a shark can adjust to the environment that it's in? If you put it in a small aquarium, it'll stay about that big. You take that same shark and put it in an ocean, and it becomes massive. We are not keepers of the aquarium. And we should not be kept in the aquarium of other people's minds and thoughts and things. We should be let loose in the ocean and in the stream of God's word and what God has to say about us. And regardless of what's going on in your life right now, he has not given up on you. He has great hope for you and great potential for you. The 10 spies of Numbers 13 pushed their doubts on 1.5 million people, of which the greater part never entered the promised land, or they never maximized their potential as the people of God. I want to give you 8 observations concerning these dealers of doubt, these 10 spies that will challenge you to feed your faith and to starve your doubts. Number 1, they experienced the same things as the people of faith. People of doubt, people of unbelief, they experienced the same things as people of faith. When the 12 spies went into Canaan's land, they all saw and experienced the same things. Moses said, bring me a leader from each tribe. And he said, I want you to go into this land and I want you to spy it out and bring us back a report. So when they went in, they all saw the same things. You see, they picked the same fruit. They saw the same land. They acknowledged the same abundance. Verse 26 says it this way. They came back to Moses and Aaron and the whole Israelite community of Kadesh and in the desert of Paran. There they reported to them, to the whole assembly, and showed them the fruit of the land. They gave Moses this account. We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is the fruit of it. If you back up in that chapter, 2 men, the grapes were so large that 2 men had to carry it on a pole. See, here's the common mistake. The common mistake about these dealers in doubt is thinking they must not feel what we're feeling. Surely they don't see what we're seeing or hear what we are hearing. Yet they are. They just make a decision not to believe in what God has promised them. They allow their focus to be on the problems instead of the promise. They remind me of this guy that got this miracle hunting dog. But he had this friend that was always negative about everything. And so they went duck hunting. And this negative friend, had never seen this dog. So he was really excited because he said, surely this will change him. Surely this will get him away from always being a bummer and a doubter. And so he got out to the blind. They're there. Ducks flew over. Boom. Down the duck. The dog jumped in the water, but he didn't sink. The dog walked on top of the water, got the duck, walked back. Friend didn't say a word. All day long, bam, duck walks on the water, comes back. They're driving home. Great day. Got a good haul of duck. He said, did you notice anything about my new hunting dog? He goes, yeah, can't swim, can he? You know, some people are just stuck there. They're just stuck there. They went in, they saw the same fruit, they saw the same land, they saw all of these things, but they focused on not all the problems that they would see, not the promise. Observation number 2 about dealers in doubt. They all saw the evidence of good things. We went into the land to which you sent us, and it does flow with milk and honey. Here is the fruit. They not only saw it, but they acknowledged it. They not only saw and acknowledged, but they brought evidence of it back. And it's my conviction that they ate some of it all the way home. They were out there for 40 days. They were spies. They didn't carry 40 days worth of food. They were feasting on that land. They enjoyed it. They tasted it. They consumed it. They brought back the substance of the things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen. There's a story in the Old Testament. The city of I believe it's Samaria, is surrounded by this army. And the people of God are in this city. And the famine is so bad that they're eating donkey head and dove's dung. I mean, it's bad. And this army has them surrounded. And they're building the ramparts so that they can take that city. And the prophet stands up and he says, tomorrow in this city, bread will be sold for like $2. And this will happen and that'll happen. And there was one of the king's soldiers there. And he said, even if God opened the windows of heaven, there's absolutely no way this could happen, dealers in doubt. Elijah, the prophet, looked at him and he says, you're going to see it with your eyes, but you're not going to taste it. It's possible to be in the meeting and miss the moment. It's possible that God is moving all around you. It's possible that he's opening the windows of heaven. It is possible that God is doing great things and you're in the meeting, but you miss the moment. So you know the story. Some lepers said, hey, we're going to die here or there. Let's go out. Maybe the enemy will feed us. So they went out there and found that the enemy had all gone and their tents were full of all this goodness. Long story short, after they figured out it was true, they went out there and they brought all this back, and that guard was trampled by the people going after the food. So you can be in the blessing or you can be run over by it. Doubt is a killer. Third observation, they quickly turned the conversation from the positive to the negative. If you're following me in the story in Numbers 13, they said, nevertheless, but you should consider doubt. They had no plan of attack, no tactical advantage ideas, no ideas at all. They just had this big but. Observation number 4. They build on their negative story to make it even worse. These is what dealers in doubts do. Verse 28, but the people who live there, there's that big but the people who live there are powerful. This land is blessed. It has everything that God promised, and it's awesome. It's just amazing, but the people who live there are powerful, and the cities are fortified and very large. We even saw the sons of Anak there. These are the sons of the giants. These are giants. You see, these dealers in doubt paint a picture that spreads fear and worry and doubt and unbelief. Observation number 5. They rejected the encouragement of others. Then Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, we should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we can't attack these people. They are stronger than we are. And they spread among the Israelites a bad report about the land they had explored. They said, the land we explored devours those living in it. All the people we saw there are great in size. These guys remind me of the doubter who watched the first steamboat that was launched on the Hudson River. Big wheels keep on turning. There's some proud Marys in here. So they're out there, they put this steamboat, they get it on the water, right? And, get this thing going. And this old guy standing on the bank, he said, they'll never get it going. They'll never get it going. They'll never get it going. And he just kept on. They'll never, ever get this thing going. And then all of a sudden that wheel started turning. And they blew that horn and that thing started going. And he said, they'll never get it stopped. They'll never get it stopped. Observation number 6. Dealers in doubt. They exaggerate and instill fear in other people. It's bad enough that they live a life that's full of fear, full of doubt, full of pessimism, but they put their doubt and their influence on other people. See if you can pick up on the exaggerations in verse 32 and 33. They said, the land we explored devours those that live in it. Don't go over there. The ground will eat you. You don't want to go there. This is a bad, bad place. All the people we saw there are of great size. I'm offended right there. Really? There was not one little person over there? I mean, that's discrimination. It's just straight up discrimination. All the people are of great size. We saw the Nephilim there. The descendants of Anak come from the Nephilim. Who are the Nephilim? That's back in Genesis chapter 6. Remember the sons of God went to the daughters of men, and they had children who became great men of war. Some people believe that's where the giants were born. Some people believe that angels come down and there was intercourse and all of that. I don't believe any of that. But because Jesus said angels in heaven do not do what? They're not married, nor are they given in marriage. But really what the truth probably is here, that these men became very powerful, renowned men in hand-to-hand combat, and then they could have been giants as well. Here we go. He said, all the people are this way. The land devours its own people. Observation. They have a self-image problem. They have a self-image problem. Number 7. Psychologists tell us that you cannot continue to act in a manner that is inconsistent with the way that you see yourself. If you see yourself as a loser, if you see yourself as a second stringer, if you see yourself with a 4 on your head in a room with people with 10s on their head, then you're going to react as a 4. You're going to live like a 4. And you may bump up to a 5. You may even bump up to a 7. You may get some inspiration, but they tell us that you will go back to how you really see yourself. So how did the 12 spies see themselves? Verse 33 says, we seemed like grasshoppers in our own eyes. See, first, what you see in your own eyes, and we look the same to them. Often people will treat you in a manner that you expect them to. You see, we cannot act in a manner different than we see ourselves. So the big question then is, how do we see ourselves? How do we see ourselves, Carbon? Do we see ourselves as helpless? Do we see ourselves as grasshoppers? Do we see ourselves as victims? Do we see ourselves as always living in the past of what could, should, would? Or do we see ourselves as the people of God, with the plan of God, with the mission of God, with the providence of God, with the provision of God? When we shift and begin to see ourselves the way Christ sees us, things change. You see, there's a giant killer in you. It doesn't matter if they're Nephilim. It doesn't matter if they're Anaks. It doesn't matter if they're Goliath. There is a giant killer in you. Amen. Final observation. They cause others to fail to reach their potential. These dealers in doubt. You see, we are never in this battle alone. What we do and how we do it affects others around us. 1.5 million people would wander in the wilderness for 40 years because 10 guys doubted. It would change a whole generation. That opportunity for those people would never come again. Do you realize that churches have windows of opportunity? There were people that didn't go out to hear Jesus who would never go that way again. There were those that said, I'm not going to the meeting. They didn't see the dead raised. Somebody says opportunity knocks once. There are windows of opportunity. There are winds of the Spirit of God. There are streams that come in season. And we have to be spot on. We have to catch the wave.
That's right.
We have to be sensitive. We have to be in the meeting, and we have to grasp the moment.
Hallelujah, Lord.
And I believe that this is our moment. I believe it's our moment. I believe that God wants to raise up a people that will worship Him passionately, with ardence, that are not ashamed to go into the room and spill the perfume of their heart on the feet of Jesus. That He wants to raise up a people that serve strategically, that don't wear them out or get burnt out or get used by a ministry, but people that will step in where their gifting is, like David did, and he wouldn't put on Saul's armor. God's not looking for us to get suited up in another man's armor. David would have died on that field if he went out there and he said, no, I haven't proved this. I refuse to face giants in another man's armor. But when you know who you are in God and what God is gifting you to do and where you add the most value, you step on the battlefield and it's a big win day. It's a big win day. I think about those people that wandered 40 years in the wilderness and never went into Canaan's land. I know churches like this. I remember sitting in a deacon's meeting. These men have been on board of a church for over 50 years. And there was not one young couple that was born there, raised there, served there. Kids were born there in that church. But God gave them a window. And that window was a 33-year-old preacher that just got out of Bible school. I know I was late. Who had a passion for kids. What I didn't know is God told me to go there. And I'm like, God, you know, there's 75 people here. And most of them, you know, I buried 23 people in the first 2 years I was there. That's how close to the grave they were. It's like that gal that kept going to weddings. And the old aunt, real old aunt, used to say, are you going to be next? Are you going to be next? And she says, I ended that real quick when we started going to funerals. I said, you going to be next? But tears were streaming down their face, and they said, all of our kids left. Well, the Holy Spirit spoke to me, and He said, I brought you here. Before it was over, 300 babies were dedicated in that church in the next 12 years. It became the fastest growing place for young families. There was a window. There was an opportunity. God was moving, and God moved. Well, when all of this started to happen and things beginning to change and we started singing songs on the wall instead of the hymn book and all of this, the same men, the same people, they dug their heels in and they wouldn't let these young people serve, and they were pushing them out of places. And a long story short, I ended up leaving, and in 6 months they had 75 people sitting in that church. And all those young people were gone. God, help us be a place where these kids matter.
Yes, yes.
Help us be a place that we don't make those mistakes.
Amen.
that we make room, that we set our judgments aside, our doubt aside, our complaints aside, and we don't put that on people. Because it can have devastating consequences. It's a serious thing to push your negativism, your doubt, your gossip, and your fear on your friends and on your families and on your business and on your church. It can affect them for 40 years. The song Brandon sang, man, it touched my heart. One of the parts it did was, I never thought I would want to go back, but now I want to be in church. The local church is the hope of the world. They're just looking for a place to be loved. They really are. I'm going to do something really brave here. If somebody has pushed doubt on you in your life, they've tried to define you. God's going to let you go today. I really do believe that He wants to meet you here, right now. And that He wants to let you know how much that He believes in you and how much that He loves you and how much that none of the past matters. Because He still has windows and winds of opportunity. He still rolls stones away and causes dead men out of graves they dug their own selves. He still says, come on out of there.